Shazam?
Peacemaker. What a joke.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. I am the Flash.
Truth, justice,
the American way.
I'm vengeance.
Hello and welcome to Elseworlds, a DC fan podcast. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Chris. How are you today, Chris?
I am deep in the craziness that is a summer class. Not fun, but you know what? Productive.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it. I never took any of those summer courses. I needed the break. I couldn't do it. But especially with how quick those things run, I'm sure it's probably stressful.
Yes, this is a needed escape from the throes of a essay on Willa Cather's Paul's case. Yeah, if you're not aware of it, I wasn't before I took this class either. So it is a much needed reprieve, I will tell you, to be able to talk a little Flash, a little Arrow, and then to jump into talk about the Flashpoint paradox. So I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, so that is the episode we're going to be talking about is Flashpoint Paradox. Before we get to that, Arrowverse update. As always here, I have not, just for warning to everyone, I have not watched a bunch since we last spoke about Crisis. I did finish the rest of the Flash season 6, and I finished Arrow, which only had 2 more episodes at that point, and I'm almost done Batwoman season 1. But not much to really talk about there for me. But yeah, no, this was a... and I finished Black Lightning season 3. But this was a Flash season 6. This is the one where everyone kind of was like, here it is, Jordan. This is the one where it all goes wrong. And I will say, binging it, it's not that bad. Binging it, I can see where it would be bad for people while you're watching it live, though. Like, where I've left off, Iris is still in the mirror. She got stuck in that thing in, like, episode 13, 14 of the season, and there's 19 in this season, and there was going to be 22. So it definitely seems like that storyline is stretching on for a bit. But for me, that is like an afternoon, like 2 days. You know, I watched, I think it was like last Friday night. I watched the first one where she got stuck in the mirror, and by Sunday, I was done the season. So for me, it kind of just blew right by. So, but I could see weekly this, especially knowing what I know now. Like I said, I've listened to other podcasts that talk about Flash, like Scarlet Velocity, and I got to a point where I was listening to episodes a few days ago where COVID happened, because this is the season where COVID happened. So there was times where they're talking about taking 3-week breaks between episodes, and that prolonged it even more than I think it probably would have felt if it was, viewed normally. But binging, it was all right. I do have some complaints. We spoke about it last week with Dibney. Ralph is not going to be in the show going forward, and that's a bummer. And I went and looked at his tweets, because I was like, I know I said something last week about how they probably should have kept him, and I went to look, and I mean, honestly, they're not worse than James Gunn's, and his whole character is based around giving somebody like him a second chance. For me, the tweets were obviously trying to be edgy humor that did not work, and it kind of sucks that it had to come to that. even if they would have recast it, Ralph, I think it kind of sucks to just absolutely drop him going forward, because he's such a fun character and he's part of Team Flash, and I don't know how they handle it. I don't want to know how they handle it yet, but I that's a bummer, because he was up there. He was right behind Cisco for my favorite characters. So that's a bummer. But I will say, new Arrowverse crush, I got Sue Dearborn right now. She's pretty awesome.
She is a really cool character, and she plays the role really fun. I like everything they do with Sue. It just makes you think what they could have done if they kept Ralph on. I agree with you
We
that
could have had a
Ralph.
wedding episode with those two.
Mhm.
We could have had so many good things.
I agree with you that Ralph is a beloved character of the show. I think he made the show more fun. I also appreciated Ralph because in episodes he didn't get a lot of Speed Force. He usually got a little bit elongated, man. So there was more superpowers in the show that made sense. I mean, I know they kind of get there with Cecile and Allegra, but I, I'm telling you, when you had Ralph there, you really had a developed character. You didn't have he didn't feel like a side character. He felt like part of main Team Flash. He felt like he earned that spot. That was a problem. And I will say, season 6 dragged on. Remember, it was longer than those weeks, and it just dragged on. And it got to the point where I was desperately ready for this story to be over, and I am actually interested in going back and binging it. I have not done that, but I am interested to see if it is as annoying to me as it was. When I watched it live, it just felt like, all right, if they give me a cliffhanger, how long am I going to have to hang on this cliffhanger? And what are we building towards overall? Because this can't be, because I'm like, this can't be the whole thing. So honestly, Iris has become such a staple of the show. To have her in the mirror dimension really split the show in half. And it just seemed like, well, she's going to get out of there, so just let's get it on with. Honestly, if Iris never gets caught in the mirror dimension, I think this season might have ended up being stronger because I didn't care for that storyline an awful lot. But it is interesting. You said you binged it. Didn't know as much of a problem. I think this show is better binged in general.
Yeah, it didn't feel that different compared to other seasons while binging it. Specifically like season 5, which I like. If I'm still ranking it, I know I told you this, but I'm going to tell the listeners here. If I'm still ranking them, for me, the seasons still go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, descending in that order. 1 is the best, 6 is the least best. But I've still really loved it in the sense of that I'm feeling pretty good about my Blu-ray purchase at this point, because the way I looked at before is, well, okay, if I like 5 out of 9 seasons, that's really good. Okay, now I'm at 6 out of 9, so I'm feeling even better about buying that complete series, which, by the way, is announced to be releasing on August 29th. So if anybody's interested in buying that, I think also the final season Blu-ray comes out the same time. I think they both launch on the 29th, which is a Tuesday in August. Mine is scheduled to get here on the 30th. At that point, I should be done. And then right in time for me to rewatch it with my wife, I guess. But, this is just speaking about the season as a whole. I kind of liked having Mirror Master in a bigger role. So for people that don't know, like Eva McCulloch in the comics is Evan McCulloch, who is Mirror Master 2. And he's kind of the Mirror Master I know more than I'm blanking on the other guy's name. Yeah, Sam Scudder.
Sam Scudder, yep.
But he's barely in season 3. I think he appears like 2 episodes, Sam Scudder. And for being such a big foe of Flash, felt kind of disappointed. So the fact that the second Mirror Master is one using mirror powers in a totally different way and had the mirror gun that was out in the real world that they're using, I think is really, really fun fun way. I totally see how it can be so annoying week to week, month to month as COVID drags on. And then I looked up, I was like just curious after the finale. I said, okay, when do people get resolution on this? Well, I looked up when season 6 finished airing, which was, I believe, May 12th of 2020. And season 7 premieres March 2nd of 2021. So it is about 10 months of a wait before resolution happens. So that's very unfortunate for people that were sitting there waiting on this, because like you said, you were waiting for it to be over, and then you had to wait a whole nother year for it to pretty much be over.
I enjoy The Flash as a whole, but I think one of the things I notice is we talk about how the seasons go from 1 to 6 ranking. I don't disagree much with that, and I might have after that 7, 8, and 9. I think kind of might change from that descending order. But I really started to notice the decline of the show in season 6, and things that didn't bug me as much started to bug me. And when you wait so long for these shows, because The Flash is my favorite show, I can't wait for it when it's on. I can't. I'm just so excited to sit down and watch The Flash. And when The Flash kind of leaves you a little flat at the end of the night, it's a real bummer. So I wouldn't say that season 6 was awful, but season 6 opened up my eyes to some of the shortcomings of the show that previously I didn't really have to deal with as much. I love season 5. I other than Sherlock, as we talked about, I love season 5. And in season 4, I was, and then you hear all these people on Twitter go, "Oh, I jumped off after season 4. I jumped off with season 4. Oh, it had 2 good seasons. Oh, it had 3 good seasons." You see all this negativity of the show, and you're constantly defending it. And it gets to a point where you're like, okay, am I going to join the bashing of the show? I'm trying not to. But there are some episodes where you're just annoyed going, I got to wait another 2 or 3 weeks for the next episode, probably, and then they would start announcing the hiatus. It was a problem.
Yeah. Well, what I would recommend if anybody is for some reason listening to this that has not watched The Flash and they don't care about spoilers, but I would say if you hear like it falls off after season 1, which is some of the extreme takes, and then many people saying it falls off after like season 5 once Eric Wallace joins or whatever. For me, what I'd recommend is still giving it a try, binging it, because there are certainly episodes where I'm watching it and it's like, not really digging this episode, but for me, it only lasts 40 minutes and then I'm on to the next big episode, So it's a totally different vibe than when you're waiting week to week, which what we're doing for Superman and Lois right now. So, some of these shows just work really well as being binged. It's like if I'm sitting there, I would compare it to comics. Sometimes you're going to open up a comic and it goes nowhere and you're like, all right, now I have to wait a whole nother month for it. It's kind of the same way with TV where you're like, now I have to wait a whole nother week for an episode that is good. So that's what I'll say. I'll start pivoting over to Arrow, I think, because I think I'm done with Flash for this week. But what I want to say about Arrow is, okay, so the last 2 episodes I had to watch was Green Arrow and the Canaries, the spin-off pilot that they were trying to do here. Didn't really interest me that much. I thought it was interesting seeing how the future has changed after Crisis, and the fact that for some reason Laurel had Cisco make something based off John Jones's ability to give them memories back, and she did that for Mia, and then somebody does it to help JJ remember, and he, I guess, becomes bad again. I'm just over that, whatever. I was kind of like happy. I was like, oh, JJ's a good guy in this future. And then they're like, remember. And that's how it cuts off, because they want you to watch the show that never actually happened after that. And then the finale. I thought the finale was really good. I loved seeing Kara and Barry show up for his funeral. And I loved learning about what has changed post Crisis and what Oliver has changed in the timeline. And I kind of figured this is what was going to happen when it starts off with him reliving his mom's death by Slade, and how this time he frees himself and saves Moira. And then we learn Tommy Merlin is alive. We learn that, we kind of learn in Crisis that Lila has Sarah again, before JJ. We have Amiko, who survived. Quentin Lance is back alive. And Rory, Ragman has his powers again, and he shows up. I loved Rory. I loved having him show up in this. So just the fact that, I think some people could think it's a cop-out that all these characters are alive again. But for me, those characters that have their memories restored still lost those characters. Like they lost them, they grieved them, they're happy to have them back. And more importantly, those characters still died to Oliver. Oliver doesn't get to relive this, world. He died, he sacrificed himself. He was able to sacrifice himself for all of these people that he wanted to restore. He never gets to see it, but just, he's for all those people that he lost, that still happened to him. And I think that's the main important part when it comes to that.
Yes, the Arrow finale was borderline perfect. They really respected the show. And, Crisis did act as a cheat code to give them the tied strings at the end of the show, to give them what Oliver would have wanted. And I thought it was really masterfully done. I thought it was done with tact. And, it really respects the journey you went on with Oliver Queen, and it's about Oliver, but it becomes so much about the whole show and the characters of the show, and that was really written well.
Yeah, Diggle finds the lantern ring, perhaps. They tease that, but
Do not get me started.
in my head canon, he does, and that's it, and don't have to worry about it. I know he probably shows up on other shows though, but
It was
not
fun.
too many more times.
It was a fun idea when they teased it. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. But it was just nice to see all these, characters again. And then you have that nice moment where Felicity, we see that continuation from when she asked the monitor to take her to him, and she's, it's her time to die, and they see each other young again in Oliver's mom's office, which is where Oliver had first seen her, and she didn't know about that, so they'll talk about it. But it's just, I liked Felicity, I liked Oliver and her, so I was very pleased with the ending, and that was that.
I kind of felt bad for Felicity. I know it's what she wanted, but I kind of was like, God, she's so young.
Dying young, yeah. She's like probably in her 40s,
she's giving up her life.
50s.
Like, don't her kids need her? Like, it felt a little messy to me to like, oh, Felicity's just gonna give up her life. And I know it's what she wanted. I'm supposed to think, oh, this is a happy ending. But I thought, it was kind of selfish by both of them to accept that as this is the end for Felicity. She had so much life to live, and she could have easily had that ending after a long life.
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that this is where the meme comes from of Grant Gustin throwing up the peace sign over Oliver's grave. I didn't realize that was Grant. It doesn't really look like him in the picture. But wow, I didn't know that's where the meme came from. That's really funny. But yeah, that was an interesting last two episodes. Definitely feels odd having that Green Arrow and the Canaries episode now that it didn't lead to anything, just kind of chilling there. But whatever.
In my head canon, it never happened.
Yeah, you can just skip it, honestly. on any of these rewatches or whatever, you can just skip that if it doesn't really go anywhere. But that'll wrap us up for the Arrowverse update, I think. Just overall, Batwoman, it's all right, I guess. I'm not really the Alice and her thing back and forth every time where they trust each other and then the other one screws them over is getting old by the 19th episode that it happens. And for Black Lightning, season 3, it was all right. Wasn't as good as some of the other seasons, but I like Jefferson Pierce a lot, and I like Gamby a lot. So that show's been a good show to just watch while I'm doing background noise, while I'm, editing stuff or, cleaning or whatever. But yeah, so if you want to give us a follow, you can reach us at Elseworlds DC Fan on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And I guess next time I'll try to have Legends done. I don't know if I will. Not the whole thing, but the next season of Legends. I haven't watched it yet. I'm planning to watch some of it tonight after cleaning. So looking forward to it. Thank you all for watching or listening our Arrowverse update. And the next episode you get on your feed is Flashpoint Paradox.